Hey guys, it's Kevin Poraj here, and welcome to the mini masterclass on resilience. I think individuals, business owners, leaders, anybody at all right now needs resilience more so than ever during the lockdown period and during the pandemic period. So let's get stuck straight into it. Why is having resilience important in the first place? Because if we don't have resilience, we're going to be stuck with stress, fear, and anxiety, and it's contagious as well, so other people can feel it. And when we're stressed, fearful, and anxious, we have an inability to control our behavior, right? We're not able to maybe get things done. We hesitate to do certain things. We hesitate in the way that we show up. And because of that, we get no results, or we get poor results in the areas that we're always trying to improve, which is health, wealth, and relationships. But if we do have resilience, guess what happens? Instead of stress, fear, and anxiety, we're calm and confident and certain. If we have resilience, we're able to control our behavior, control the way we speak, control the way that we show up, and actually get things done, the things that we know we need to get done. And therefore, we're able to maintain the sense of peace that we want, or the sense of happiness that we want in our health, our wealth, and relationships, and also the results that we want there as well. So why is having resilience important? I think it's pretty obvious now. Okay. Now, here's a myth or mistake that I want to address right now, that staying connected, eating well, and working out will create resilience. Now, staying connected, eating well, and working out are very, very good things and must be done. But they are not the things that actually create resilience, okay? Because it won't change your relationship to the actual situation. In a sense, it'll allow you to feel good, in a sense, not worry or not think or even distract you away from the actual situation. But the way that we're going to be going about resilience is really looking at what the situation is and being able to give you a very simple and easy to use strategy to be able to deal with that, right? So here's my promise, guys. By the end of this session, you're going to learn the simplest and most effective way to stay level-headed and resilient, okay? Okay, now I want to bring this up. It doesn't matter if it's a financial situation, if it's a life situation, if it's a relationship situation. If you don't like where you are, the truth is we only have three options. We can remove ourselves from this situation, we can change this situation, or we can totally accept it. And anything else is unnecessary suffering. And I think of, you could take this into your workplace. Maybe you've been in situations where you've been complaining about a certain colleague and you've been complaining about them forever. And at some point you start to realize that this complaining is only affecting you. Some of your friends are just saying you're complaining too much. And, at one point you just realize, well, I can't change the situation. What am I going to do? Am I going to remove myself from the situation? And then maybe you decide to leave. Maybe you change the situation. Maybe you have a chat to that person and you say, I don't like the way that you're showing up, or you accept it totally. But what you'll realize is anything other than those three is usually just unnecessary suffering. So let me make this relevant. The lockdown, can we remove ourselves from the situation? No, unless you want to move overseas permanently. Can we change the situation? We can't change lockdown. We can't, right? But can we accept it totally? Yes. Can we have a cry about it? Can we complain about vaxxers and anti-vaxxers and start a lot of political drama? Yeah, we can do that. But is that something that we want to continue to do? Is that something that's going to really serve us in becoming the best version of ourselves? I don't think so. So I think the only option there is to accept it. And I know what you're thinking. You're probably thinking, but Kevin, it's not that easy to accept. How can I just accept the situation? I'm struggling financially. I'm struggling mentally. I'm struggling spiritually. How am I going to accept the situation? Well, let's have a look at, the difference between the people who do accept a situation and the people who can't accept a situation. And the one difference that I can see is gratitude. See, if you go to someone who's really hating their situation, a place, a person, or thing, right? And if you ask them, how grateful are you for that? They'll say no. And I'll say, why? And they'll give me 1,000 negatives, 1,000 downsides to the situation that they're experiencing. Oh, your lockdown's the worst because I don't know, like I'm stressed out. Lockdown's the worst because I can't go outside. Lockdown's the worst because I can't travel. Lockdown's the worst for this. But if you ask them, what are the upsides to lockdown? They can't come up with anything. So those people who struggle to accept, they can only see the downside. They can't see any of the upsides. Now, on the other hand, we could go to people who are overly positive about the situation and is in a sense delusional, right? And if you go and ask them, they'll be like, "Oh yeah, like I'm fine, I'm good," but they're lying to themselves. And I want to think about what are the middle group of people. Well, if those are the two options where you're overly seeing all the bad sides and not seeing the good sides, and then on this side you're overly seeing all the good sides and pretending not to see the bad sides, is there a middle ground? And there is a middle ground where you look at the negatives, but at the same time you see all the positives to the situation and you realize that they're grateful. Well, yeah, the lockdown's difficult. Yeah, I've lost money. Yeah, I've done this. But as a business owner, I've been able to take my business to the market. I've been able to spend more time with my family. I've been able to focus and strategize on the things that aren't working in my business and think more long-term and create a strategy for my business. And when you're able to balance out all the negatives with all the positives, then you experience a sense of gratitude and you're no longer having baggage to that situation, that place, or that thing. Okay, let me take this deeper. Let me show you what this looks like. So think about someone who's, in a sense, not having a great time. Okay, they're resentful. And what is resentful? It means when you perceive far more negatives than you see positives. Yep, that's resentment. And then the other side is, in sense, infatuation, right? Where you see far more positives than you see negatives. And you could be infatuated with a person, a place, or thing. Oh, this person, oh, I'm so infatuated. If you probably think of a time where you've been infatuated with a girl and or a guy, and you see all the upsides and you thought it was the best relationship ever. And then 2 or 3 years later, you realize it's the worst decision you've ever made. And later on, when you become less emotional and a little bit more objective, then you can see the truth. Likewise, when you're resentful, you can't see the truth either. You see more negatives than positives. On this side, you see more positives than negatives. That's the first thing that we want to understand. But what's the middle ground? Like I said, it's where you see the negative and you also see equal amount of positive, and you're able to become grateful for the situation that you're currently in. Let me take this a little bit deeper. Anything that you can't fully be grateful for is baggage, right? But anything that you can be grateful for is fuel. Now, I want you guys to think of the last time where you probably had a situation you thought it was the worst thing that's ever happened to you. Someone broke up with you and you were like heartbroken. 2 or 3 years later, you realize that that was the best thing that God could have done for you. Maybe you didn't get into a certain uni that you wanted to go to. 3 years later, you realize that that uni, their standing dropped, and you realize it was the best decision or the best opportunity for you to not be able to get that. Or maybe you started a business and the business failed, and 3 years later, you realize it's the best thing that's ever happened to you, right? How many times has this happened? So many times. Almost all our negative decisions, after a certain period, we can see that it actually served us in some shape or form. Okay. So, and you'll realize at that point, when you shift from not being grateful to being grateful and to seeing both sides, then you're able to use it as fuel and able to release whatever you've had. So if you're looking at someone and say, oh, they've destroyed my life, they've done this stuff, done that, you're in a state of resentment. But later on, when you become less emotional, you start to see how this person actually served you. They taught you resilience. They taught you to be grateful for the opposite, to be grateful when you see people who are polite, who are nice. It taught you more about patience. It gave you more opportunities to be able to find friends that are good. And you're able to see all the upsides, then you're able to release the baggage and realize that that person was actually serving you. I hope this is making sense for you guys, okay? So here's the thing that we want to understand. Your ability to see how the worst thing that's ever happened to you, that was actually the best thing that's ever happened to you, opens you up to gratitude. And when you get opened up to gratitude, this produces resilience. Because if I'm grateful for the situation that's happening, if I'm happy that lockdown is actually serving me, then I'm resilient. If I'm looking at it and thinking, oh, it's the worst thing that's ever happened to me, because you can come up with so many reasons why it's bad, then you are in a state of resentment. So how do we become grateful so we can become resilient? Let me show you. It's very, very simple. What you got to understand, here's another thing that I want you guys to understand. As soon as you decide that some event had more negatives than positives, right? When you resent a situation, a person, place, or thing, you create the opposite infatuation of the opposite. So let me give you an example. If you feel that lockdown, is the worst thing that's ever happened, then you have an infatuation with the opposite. You are infatuated with the idea that not having a lockdown would have been the best thing ever. So in a sense, you have a fantasy or an infatuation. Okay. Any resentment that you carry towards a person, place, or thing, you have an infatuation that the opposite should have happened. So how do we become grateful so we can become resilient? We balance everything. So we go from resentful to becoming grateful by looking at what are the upsides to the lockdown. So if I'm resentful because of the lockdown, what are the upsides? How is lockdown serving me? What skills is it teaching me? What knowledge is it giving me? What experience is it giving me? Okay. And you can start to balance your resentment. And then what you want to do is you want to balance your infatuation. So if you're infatuated with not having the lockdown, you want to go, if the lockdown didn't happen, what would be the downsides of that? And then what we do is we balance our resentment, we balance our infatuation, and guess what we're able to do then? We're able to achieve a state of gratitude where we see both sides and we see it equally. Okay, I hope this is making sense, guys. Now, here's how you want to do it. Write down 3 specific reasons how the lockdown is the best thing that's ever happened to you. Is it making you think of new strategies in your business? Is it making you actually pick up books and read? Is it, in a sense, forcing you to be able to spend more time with your family? Is it forcing you to be able to think more about your health? Is it forcing you to actually visit your suburb a little bit more, right? What is 3 specific reasons how the lockdown is serving you in your health, your wealth, in your relationships? And then balance the infatuation, which is write down 3 specific reasons how not having the lockdown would be the worst thing that's ever happened to you. Well, if I didn't have the lockdown, I wouldn't have the opportunity to be able to read. If I didn't have the lockdown, I wouldn't have the opportunity to be able to spend more time with my family. If I didn't have the lockdown, I wouldn't have time to be able to think about new strategies for my business. I wouldn't have the time to be able to focus more on my business. And guess what happens? As soon as we do that, we start to balance our perceptions, because everything is mathematical, guys. And when you balance your perceptions, you achieve a state of gratitude. And you felt it. That time where you realized that everything that you thought was happening to you was actually happening for you. And you have those tears of gratitude, that tears of meaning, where you realize that nothing was missing. God or the universe or whatever you want to call it, the whole time has been trying to serve you. So here's the thing, guys. If you really want to experience the results from this, do the exercises. Write down the 3 reasons of the benefits. Write down the 3 reasons of the downsides of the infatuation. And then when we do that, life changes. And I just want to leave you guys with this, right? I want you guys to think of any favorite movie that you have. Think of any favorite movie that you have, or any movie that comes to mind that you enjoyed. And think of, if there was no pain, problem, or challenge in the movie, would you enjoy the movie? No. So what about your life? If your life had no pain, problems, lockdowns, what would you be missing out on? I'd love to leave you guys with that. And I hope this was valuable. I hope you guys do the exercises. And I know for a fact, if you start to balance your perceptions, you can achieve resilience far easier. One thing I also want to leave you guys with is this is a muscle. The more you start to balance your perceptions and start to see that there is both sides to the situation, because no event in this universe is one-sided. Every event has its opposite to be able to balance it out. Everything is mathematical. Once you understand that, once you implement that, and once you get good at asking yourself these questions again and again and again, you practice that muscle, and automatically next time situations like this come about, you become more resilient. Okay. I hope this was valuable. I hope this is something that you guys can use, and I'd love to hear how you guys went and how it's improving your resilience. God bless you guys, and see you later. Bye.